So in this unit, we are going to be taking a look at area, a variety of shapes and polygons. And in this quick video, we're just going to look at what is area. Area can be found all around us. For example, in this first image of some kids jumping on a trampoline, the companies that make the trampoline need to know the area of the space that will cover the elastic material so that the kids can jump. So this black space right here is the area of the trampoline. When you go buy bedding for your bed, the area will be like your sheets and your comforters. You need to know the size of your bed so that you buy the right size bed covers. Floor tiles on your bathroom or kitchen are an example of area. This is actually a really good example because it looks very much like the graph paper that you work with in math. Windows, believe it or not, windows are a good demonstration of area. You need to know the amount of glass to fill the space of the window. This is area. Floor plans. This is actually one of the most popular uses of area. Anytime an architect or designer is laying out a floor plan area, they need to know the space so they can determine what size furniture can fit here, how much walking space a person would have. So this is a very important use of area. Farming and gardening. Gardeners and farmers have to lay out the land so they know what plants to plant in different locations. So here we have these nice rectangular gardens, but then you look up here and the farmer has irregular shapes so that they know where to plant their crops. Carpets and rugs. If you need a new rug for your bedroom, you'll need to know the floor space so that you can find the right size area rug. Pool covers. Summer's over, it's time to cover the pool. You need to know the area of your pool so that you can buy the right size cover to protect it from the winter. Sports fields. A variety of sports fields use area. For this example, to map out the football field, you need to know the area as well as the space for the goals. And most fields use what's called AstroTurf, which is kind of like a fake grass that they have to lay out. And they'll need to know the area so they can determine how much AstroTurf they need to cover the field. Roofing and solar panels are really good example of area. So the shingles on the roof, when someone is replacing the shingles on their roof, they need to know how many shingles they're going to need. Or if they're putting solar panels on their roof, they'll need to know the area of their roof so they can calculate the number of solar panels. Painting a new wall in your house? Well, this is area. I need to know how much paint is going to cover the area of my wall, so I'll need to measure to make sure I buy enough paint. So area does come in all shapes and sizes, and in this unit we're going to explore strategies for finding area of a variety of polygons. Now this is just plain old shapes, but again, if you look back through this PowerPoint slideshows here, you can see that area is found in a lot of places in the real world. Calculating area can sometimes be easy, but sometimes it can be a little challenging. So I'm going to show you a really cool thing about area here. We're going to take a step back from the real world and look at just some squares here. Now this is just origami paper that I purchased from the store, and if you can get some origami paper, it was like $5 for a pack of paper. This is a really good way to practice area. Okay, so I have a square, and then I'm going to take this green square and I'm literally just going to fold it in half diagonally. So what happens when I fold my square in half diagonally is I now have a triangle. And this triangle is worth half of the square, right? So if I know the area of the square and I know that I have a triangle that's half of that, then this green triangle is half the area of the square. So I believe this paper is 5 inches. I'm going to measure that real quick because I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to use the inch side. And it looks like the square is, just about 6 inches, just short of 6 inches. See that? So I'm going to say this is 6 inches. So if it's a square, that means it's going to be 6 inches at the bottom as well. Okay, so we are working with 6 by 6. So we would say that this area is 36 square units. 6 by 6. And if I multiply these two, I can see that this is area of 36. So therefore, I know that the triangle is going to be half of 36. Half of 36. So all we would have to do is take 36 and divide it by 2. Now I'm going to open this back up, and then I'm going to cut so you can see that this area creates two triangles. I'm just going to do a quick cut here. My lines may not be 100% perfect. Okay. Now, with these two triangles that I created using the same paper here, this blue paper, this 6 by 6 square paper, I can now rearrange my triangles a lot of different ways. So I can put them together here. You can see it kind of makes that rhombus, which is basically the same thing as a square, just rotate it, right? Okay, so I have this rhombus. I can also rearrange it and put them back to back and make a larger triangle. See that? So by just taking the square, cutting it in half, I've created two triangles that can now be used to make a larger triangle, or I can rotate them around and make the square again. Now, I can also be creative and do various things, like I can do this kind of shape, which is basically the giant triangle, but by standing it up, I've made myself a right triangle. See that? Now, it looks bigger. Do you see how it looks like it's larger? But it's actually not. It's the same area, because if I take this and I rotate it around and piece them together, I can see that it's the exact same. Pretty cool, right? Okay, now watch. I'm going to take this purple one, and I'm going to do a diagonal, just like I did with the green ones. But then I'm going to do it again. So I folded my square diagonally in half, and then I'm going to take the triangle and I'm going to fold it in half. Now check this out. Now I have created a very tiny little triangle that is 1/4 of the larger space. Because I folded it in half and then in half again, I've now created 4 tiny triangles that are the same area. This adds up to be the same area as the square. Now, I'm going to cut this out. Go right across. So this is why origami paper is super fun. And then I'm going to go cut my other one out. So now I'm going to have 4 little triangles. Okay, 4 little triangles. Now check this out. We've got the blue square, we've got the 2 green triangles, and then we've got these 4 little ones. Now all 3 of these areas are the same. All 3 of the areas are the same. They all started with the one blue. I'm going to zoom out a little bit there. One blue square. I cut this in half, made 2 triangles, and then I took the 2 triangles and cut them in half and created 4 small little miniature triangles. Now what we can do with these is we can make a lot of different shapes. Once we have these smaller spaces, I can be creative here, and look, I have made myself a trapezoid. Look at this. Now this trapezoid is only using 3 of the triangles, so I would say that this is 3/4 the area of 2 of these, or even the one square, right? And if I want to show that this giant triangle is the same as 2 of these little ones, I can just take them off and then put them back to back. And look at this. See that? So 2 of the little purple ones are equal to 1 of these green triangles. And again, remember, one green triangle is half of the square. Now what's really cool is I can put this green triangle here, and then I can put the purple ones on top. Might need to move them around, rotate a little. There we go. And you can see that 2 purples are the same as 1 green and half of the giant blue square. Pretty cool, right? Now we can do some mixing and matching. So now what I can do is I can take like my giant square. I'll start with my giant square. And I can take half of this square and put it on top. That one doesn't quite work very well, right? It doesn't look like a house. I mean, it does look like a house, but it's overhanging. But if I rotate it around, check that out. I've just composed a composite shape. So I rotate this around and I can see that it's a trapezoid. See that? Okay, so I have this square and then I have half of another square. Together, they make a trapezoid. Now, I can take this and I can move these around and I can be a little creative. Look, if I take one of the purples, I can see that I have a square and then 1/4 of that square right there on top. Okay? So again, throughout this unit, we're going to have some fun playing around with squares and rectangles and triangles. I'm working with squares to start, but we can do this exact same thing with rectangles, which we'll explore later in the unit. But for right now, I have my one square that I cut in half to make two giant triangles, okay? And then I took those two giant triangles and cut them in half, and I created 4 little mini triangles, but they all add up to the giant square. Now again, notice I'm even like, oh, Miss Breen is even having a little trouble. I'm like, okay, how can I put them together? This one's a little different because I have to match it here. Let's see, find the halfway. So I'm going to look at my triangle and say, okay, remember I cut this in half. So if I just, there it is, see that? Okay, so there's half. Here's half. It's like a puzzle. Rotate it around. Sometimes it does take some practice to kind of rotate things around so you can see. Sometimes it can be a little confusing, but if we fit them all together, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 is equal to 2, which is equal to 1. Okay? All right. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll be doing some more work with this in class.